Hello, and welcome to new weekly update from the Markets Middleman. Today is Monday, June 1, and I'm about to share with you my view or my plan for this week. So, blessings for this new month. I really hope it will be full of lessons and good experiences with some personal and financial growth for all of you. So, with that being said, let's kick off with our preparation for the charts, starting with the DXY on the weekly time frame. We see how price balanced the weekly fair value gap and still closed above the low of last week. This is a very good bullish sign for DXY. But the question is, will price just continue up from here, or would just want to do something lower and then goes up? No one knows, but this is the work for our plan. So we plan for things ahead, and then if they happen, then we'll be ready. If not, then we simply change and adjust. So going into the daily time frame, also on the daily time frame, I couldn't see Friday close below the high of the low of Thursday. So we've seen also price on the daily time frame maintain the close back above. So it created a doji or an indecision candle. Okay, so what did price did with this wick? It simply balanced almost approximately 50% of this daily fair value gap. So can price just continue up from here? Yes, of course. Price can do whatever it wants and definitely can continue higher from here. It's just on the hourly time frame that we had the first close, and I will just use the 4-hour time frame for this sake. So I see only on the hourly time frame price was able to close below the previous weekly low, or sorry, below Monday's low. So marking the first time price creates a change of character. So it was the first time price closes below a well-defined low. So, but this couldn't be confirmed on the weekly or the daily time frame, but it just gives us a hint that there is an actual potential. One of two things would happen. If price wants to be bullish and just continue up from here, mark this scenario. I need to see a close back above Friday high. So I need to see something like this to convince me that yes, that all was enough. The weekly, the daily fair value gap, the 50%, all was enough for price to go up. So by the time I see price closing and displacing well above Friday high, I'll be convinced to continue buying the DXY after a retracement back into the weekly high. So I can be bullish only if I see something like this on the DXY. But another scenario, why I say I want to see like full displacement and closure above Friday high, because I don't want to see something like this, like a sweep and then a push to the downside. Because the other scenario is the following. There's a 4-hour fair value gap and price overall did not tap into the optimal. So if I take Fibo level from here all the way to the high, I see that price is still far away from the 50% equilibrium or mid-range from all of this push to the upside. So yes, price would still want to do one thing before going higher. It would still want to, let's say, sweep this high or even Friday high, okay, and then displace lower, take out last weekly low, and tap into the 4-hour bullish fair value gap. There's a huge imbalance over here. And then create a market structure shift, change of character, closing above this high, and then we can go ahead and continue the overall trend. If you ask me what I prefer personally, I 100% prefer this scenario to happen. One more manipulation lower, take out the weekly, fill out all of the imbalances, and then push up. This is 100% what I prefer to happen. But the market is not working for me, and it wouldn't care what I prefer or not. But my plan is the following. I will avoid anything, any trade within this range. I'll either wait a sweep and a displacement lower. Maybe if things are perfect at this range over here, clear market structure shift, maybe I can be bullish on the EU or GU in an anticipation to target the weekly low. But overall, I prefer to observe and highly observe what price would do within this range. I would prefer this, but at the same time, if I see this closing well above Friday high, then I'll be convinced that price would want to push higher and eventually continue higher. Overall, the DXY is showing strength, and so far there's no reason to flip bearish. Overall, the open target for July is to take out those two relative highs over here. So let's see if there's going to be enough momentum and events to carry with this push to the upside. So with that being said, on the DXY, I'll go ahead and share with you my plan for EU, GU, and gold as well. So for EU, we spoke about the potential of this daily fair value gap aligning with all of those breakers over here, and this was the area of interest we were waiting a couple of weeks ago. But instead, what price did is that consolidated for almost 2 weeks, manipulated higher, and the question is same as DXY. Is this balance enough for price? And right now we're just gonna go lower, or same as DXY, would price want to sweep one more time and then displace lower? I'll show you what's my plan on the 4-hour time frame. So here's Friday low. It's pretty much the same exact thing. And also price took this last, not the last, before the last bearish fair value gap. So yes, that's why I avoiding buying. I'm definitely not bullish on the EU, even though price displaced higher. But the thing is the following, same as the XY, pretty much same plan. You can take this as the accumulation. Last push higher was the manipulation, and right now we're witnessing the beginning of a distribution. And the distribution could go as low as this sell side over here. So mark the 1.15, mark something like this to take out those two relative equal lows and those two lows over here as an open target. So even the sell side is still open with a temporary SMT, but overall can just negate the whole SMT divergence thing. So within this wave, same as DXY, I want to see if price is gonna raid Friday's low. Then it gave me a change of character. We closed below this last push to the upside. So by this time, I'm fully bearish on price, and I'll be looking for potential fair value gaps or the blocks to be shorting into the weekly low. Okay, but if price just swept Friday low or even Asia low for today and showed a reversal, then I'll be open to take out Friday high with the continuation if and only if I see price continue higher, taking the 12-hour order block into consideration. So by this time, notice this lag over here. This is the only up closing candles on the 12-hour time frame. And also one more note, that price did not reach the full equilibrium yet. There was a little bit between the 50% and the buy side of Friday. So it's like there's really several points for price to rotate from, either take Friday high or extend a little bit into the breaker or into the order block. This is only if I see price rotating higher. But of course, things can be bearish from here on the 2-hour time frame with a little bit detailed context. I want to see something like this, a full raid for Friday low and then a retracement back. This is the scenario if price is gonna go down from here. But if I see price take the sell side or Friday low and rotated higher, my eyes are gonna be around those levels, Friday high, as I mentioned, and OB12. And here I want to see a sharp market structure shift so that I can continue being bearish from there. Of course, anything can change and a lot of fluctuations happens during the week. So those kind of updates are valid as long as the structure is like this. Otherwise, we'll have some updates and we will just adapt and move on with the setup. So with that being said, mark those levels on EU, and right now let's move into GU. So for G, I'll keep it simple here. Of course, overall, still the same plan where price made a huge displacement on the higher time frame, retraced back into an 8-hour or 12-hour order block, made another push to the downside. I see that overall GU is definitely bearish, but the question is the same. Will price just continue lower from here, or would it want to do one more sweep before it continue lower? So this is the external high and this is the external low. Anything in between is just internal. Okay, so it depends on the overall bias. So once you see some internal shift, then you can follow the overall bias. It becomes easier and much higher probability to work in your favor. So right now I'm gonna keep it very simple. I want to see one of two things. Either price in the bullish scenario, I want to see price respecting this 4-hour order block after an internal BOS. So price made a high, a low, then displaced higher, not reaching the weekly high yet. So there could be a chance where price bounce off of this 4-hour order block with a fair value gap and then raid the high of Friday. So either raid the high of Friday, displace lower and continue the overall trend, taking the last week's low, or if this push to the upside or the so-called manipulation could be to sweep last week's high and then displace lower into last week's low. So a GU usually love to trade within the ranges. So yes, there could be this chance of sweeping the weekly high, tapping into the weekly low. So it really depends on what price would do around this range. So keep those in your mind. And last option or scenario that would happen, if I see price from here without doing anything, just closing aggressively below this low, then I'll be taking into consideration to continue the bearish scenario until this sell side over here. So again, it really depends on what price will provide for us during this week. With that being said, let's finish and wrap it up with gold because I think there's a good potential for gold, and then we move ahead. So moving forward, ever since price swept this internal buy side and marked this imbalance on the lower time frames one more time, price created another bearish break of structure, consolidated a little bit, and then confirmed another daily close below it over here. It's just that price couldn't close below this internal sell side. But overall, I think price is still bearish. Now notice where Friday tagged in the high of the day. It reinduced this daily fair value gap imbalance over here, but couldn't close, couldn't maintain the close above this high over here without creating a break of structure or anything like that on the daily time frame. And these two relative equal lows are still intact. So there is a big chance that gold is still very bearish and to push down and take those two sell sides over here. But the question is, can price just go down from here without doing anything further? I say yes, because it already took two relative equal highs and induced a daily fair value gap. So there's a huge potential that price, yes, can go down. For this scenario, you need to have a proper confirmation. But before I do so, I will just highlight one more scenario. So notice this trend for gold that it's been intact since April. April 20, April 17. Okay, price is making lower lows and lower highs. Okay, price is within this channel over here or downtrend. So all of this was another leg, another push to the downside. And the possibility for price to push lower from here is on the table. However, it also depends on the DXY and what the whole market would do. There is still one more chance to price to go up and balance this 4-hour fair value gap just to balance all of the imbalances or inefficiencies that was created during this last displacement to the downside. But is this the optimal level to buy from? No, and I'm not saying I'm bullish on gold. I'm overall bearish until I see a close well above this level. But short term, yes, I can be bullish short term on gold just under one case. If I see a retracement back into this 4-hour breaker, end of this inefficiency over here, and the 61 Fibo level from this push to the upside, then I would need to see a change of character. I would need to see a confirmation in order for me to target the previous weekly high. And why I need a confirmation? Because this break of structure had already reached the buy side inefficiency over here on the daily time frame. So there's a huge chance that price is just going to continue lower. So if I see price created a low and then displaced sharply over here, not taking this level into consideration, then I think price would resume bearish and then target the sell side instead of just keep on focusing on bullish. But in case I see price just going down sideways and then created a market structure shift, left a fair value gap, then I'll be open to target the high of last week and then the 4-hour fair value gap, which I think is the optimal level for price to continue lower. So from here, I want to see price just displacing lower, leaving a fair value gap, and then continuing the overall structure. Of course, again, anything can change, and this scenario could possibly happen or not. Those are the almost like most of the scenarios that are tradable. So if I see this, I do this. If I see that, I do this, etc. So just as a preparation for you to go into the chart, mark the levels, and know exactly what to see in order for you to be bullish, take a trade, or vice versa. So keep an eye, mark the levels. In case you have any different idea, share in the comments. Let me know what's your plan for this week. If you haven't watched the May trade breakdown, please go ahead and do so. I really invested a lot of time in it, and I tried to put all of the pieces together in order to provide a very good recap for you. So yeah, let's make sure we trade safe, we stay aligned with ourselves, and wait for the A+ setup to show itself so that we can execute. Hopefully we're gonna have a great time trading this month. Cheers, and I see you in the next update.